Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming at you live from episode 39 of Life on the Rocks with your host, Connor Rocques. Today's featured guest in the hot seat is my good friend, Nick Petryna. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Good to see you.
Honestly, it's a pleasure to have Nick on the show. For anybody who doesn't know Nick out there, he is the co-founder and CTO of the new hit. It's, I guess, what can we call it? It's a new hit.
It's an artificial intelligence app called Wellbe.
An artificial intelligence app called Wellbe, but it bases with a lot of analytics and stats and stuff for the
senior care market. Yeah. So essentially, what we do, kind of our final goal is to predict diseases before they happen.
It's huge.
With the older adult population, right, and to help families take care of an older loved one and have them stay at home longer without having to go to a nursing home.
Well, that's the thing, and it was a big mouthful actually to spit that out with the analytics part. So I'm glad you explained that. So when did you come up with an idea like this, where you're like, you know what, I want to go mass disrupt the healthcare industry?
Yeah, you know what's actually great is, so my co-founder Elizabeth, she kind of has her personal story where she had a grandfather who was living alone, and the Quebec government is kind of swelled up with all the requests to have PSWs come to their houses. So she had a PSW coming every week, once a week, and after a while, taking care of that person, of her grandfather, was getting kind of hard, and they were kind of worried. So one Monday, PSW came, checked in on him, everything was okay, and then on Friday, unfortunately, he passed away. And so she thought, like, what if there was a way in order for us, to be able to take care of that person? So when I heard about this, they needed an engineer to come, build the product. So I was in instantly.
Absolutely.
And I also had the same connection with my grandmother as well. So
I'm sorry to hear that, obviously. And so you come in from the background as a software engineer.
Yeah.
So you do all the analytics. You also do, the coding. Is that how that works?
The whole software stack, everything from analytics to the web stuff to the near the metal programming. I do all of it.
How long have you guys been building this project? It is in the App Store too, right?
Yeah, it's on the App Store and the Android Store. Well, yeah, we've been building it for a year and a half now. So
okay.
It's a long time coming now that we're finally finished and we're out there.
I want you to talk to me. So now you obviously consider yourself that's like full-time entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
What was the hardest obstacle you faced when trying to build this app, kind of get it out there? You're going into a very deep market pool. Like, what do you think is the biggest obstacle you faced so far?
Oh shit, I couldn't even.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if I could swear, but no, that's a hard question to answer because so many absolutely incredibly challenging situations. I mean, I guess the situation right now would be human capital. Is getting really experienced people to join the company. I mean, we have an amazing team. My team is absolutely fantastic. But getting more people in for who want to come in and build the product is great. Getting funding has also been challenging from the government. It's been they've been really great. From private industry though, it's been a little bit harder. And then kind of team stuff. I mean, the team's gone through changes and the product's gone through changes, and we made mistakes initially about what we thought people wanted, but and then we iterated many times to actually kind of get to where we are at right now. So yeah, I'd say that was the most challenging.
And absolutely, and I look at it too, especially with the app game. Like, I mean, this is a very dense industry. There's tons of apps coming out on a daily basis. Like, would you say that probably one of the hardest things when you started, we were talking about this at lunch, is trying to get these investors and people to buy into you if you're just starting out, college or university student. Like, that's a difficult part, I can imagine.
Yeah, it is. I mean, especially because I'm a university dropout, as you know. So I mean, I don't have any credentials whatsoever. I could just be some vagrant walking off the street, but I was 19 when I had founded the company with Elizabeth and somebody else, and that there's really no credibility whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about how it's a great idea for students to kind of use university as a little bit of credibility, like, oh, if you're in Sudbury, hey, I'm a Laurentian student and I'm doing this and this and this, and maybe some people might find that interesting, but when you don't go to school and have no credentials or no past companies, that it does become kind of hard for people to take you seriously. Yeah.
Well, I was looking at that and I'm wondering, especially myself, or it's all about the pitch. How am I going to go in there, sell myself to this company, corporation, industry, person, whatever it is? And obviously, you think that'd be difficult, but I mean, you guys it's been a year and a half. You've already built the app. It's already getting traction. I mean, you said you already had 1,000 users in like literally in 3 weeks. That's how quick it was. But I want you to switch gears for a second. So university dropout. You went to where? University of Ottawa?
I went to U Ottawa. Yeah.
Okay, so you went to University of Ottawa. I want you to walk me through How big of a fear was that for you to say, you know what, I'm going to just drop out of school and I'm going to go take on this app full time?
Yeah, you know what, maybe it should have been a little bit more of a fear, but I didn't fear it for one second. You know, maybe that might make me stupid. I don't know.
No.
Everybody told me it was a bad idea. Everybody told me it was a bad idea, that I was crazy. I might still be crazy. Who knows? We haven't figured it out yet. But yeah, I had no fear whatsoever. I wasn't worried about it. So I was just kind of going in blind, just seeing kind of where it took me. You know,
trial and error for the most part, kind of seeing. I think that's one of the hardest things too you see in the app game is that, you know, you think everybody kind of wants this in the marketplace, then all of a sudden you put it out there, they don't respond to that, then you're like, okay, maybe we can try this. And I think that's the best way to learn. Most people, you know, they're reading on and on and on. It's like, well, where's the application part of it? Mm-hmm. And look at it. I mean, you're already a year and a half in, you're building this. How do your parents feel about that at the time? Because I mean, this is a question that we're all facing. Like if I remember back in university, I was like, yeah, I want to be a full-time kickboxer. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, like let's go, you know, do that. My dad just looked at me and laughed. He's like, you better get your friggin' butt to school.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, my parents obviously, you know, initially they were apprehensive, to say the least. I mean, but, you know, good on them because they, you know, they sort of changed as they started seeing how the company was progressing, and I think maybe they realized that, okay, maybe this is actually something viable.
Definitely.
That their opinions have totally changed. Now, you know, my parents are more than happy with what I'm doing, so it's great. Yeah, so they changed their opinion, you know, within a couple months, which was
is great.
Yeah.
It was one of those things too. I had a teacher back in university. His name was Dr. Braun. He was the best teacher I ever had, you know, over the last years, like a mentor figure. And he always said, he's like, you know what, you know, go try to make it in whatever field it is, whether it be marketing or what you want to do. And at the end of the day, sit back and you can go back to school. You can go to law school, and like I think that's where we relate on a different level. How do you feel about so obviously like? How do you feel about the marketing piece with this? Because like I said, you're in a very not saturated, but you're very, you know, dense industry here with all the healthcare products. But I truly believe you do have a great product. And I think a lot of time with apps, it's how are you going to market it so your consumers are going to buy into it and go from there. Like, how do you kind of go about trying to break through that noise of this industry a little bit?
Yeah, well, that's actually the thing, because healthcare, just as you said, is, I wouldn't say saturated, but it's slow moving, right? It's incredibly slow moving, and for new players to get into the industry, it's practically impossible, really. So our first goal was we wanted to focus on consumers, right? Because that's where we felt that we can make the biggest change early on, right? If we tried to go directly to businesses or hospitals, let's say they're like very set in their ways and they need a lot of validation before they can say, hey, we're actually going to use this in practice. So we said, okay, we're going to focus directly on consumers. And then we wanted to focus on people who had our story, right? Who had, you know, who have the family member or themselves who they want to take care of. And we felt that, you know, maybe Wellbe might seem kind of like a niche market initially, but everybody has had that issue at one point in their lives, and everybody can imagine that issue. So that's why we wanted to market our story, and that's why we went in that direction. So that's how we've done it. Yeah.
No, I think that's huge too, especially it's that relatability. No one wants something that no one kind of, you know, it's always the story you see on social media. People buy into that, you know, the millionaire that comes out of nowhere, big slumdog story, something like that, but obviously a little bit different context for this type of app. How come, so what got you interested in the first place with artificial intelligence? I know we were talking about this before.
You know what? I had never really considered artificial intelligence before I started this company, which is amazing. But once I started, I absolutely got hooked. And I started an artificial intelligence company. I had no idea what I was doing. I like no formal experience. So I just bought a bunch of books. I bought like 10 books and I just read, and I read them all. And then I said, okay, well, I mean, I think I have enough to go on at this point. But once you start really getting into something, you realize the incredible applications of it. And we were talking about this before, where it's artificial intelligence is the biggest thing within the next 15 years. It's going to eliminate 50% of the jobs of the job market in the next 20 years. So I mean, it's a big deal.
It's something you want to get into.
Absolutely.
How do you feel like, would you encourage people, obviously, going off the university piece, I like to talk a lot about this kind of thing. If, let's say you're kind of on the fence with something, you're like, okay, well, maybe I should go to university, but you kind of have this company aspect. You seem like the type of person that would really kind of push for the entrepreneurial way, like that's where the future is going to go. Mm-hmm. Is that what you kind of see in the future, that we need more entrepreneurs, we need more people getting out there?
Yeah, there's never a limit to entrepreneurs. Yeah. And I mean, there's never a limit to entrepreneurs kind of in the tech industry as well.
Yeah.
I mean, for a lot of people, I felt very comfortable with my programming skills before I had gotten to university, but there's a lot of people, if not the majority of people, who have never written a line of code before they get to university and they join the program. So for a lot of people, maybe that's an essential part of their timeline. Mm-hmm. right? But again, I think people should believe in themselves before they believe, in the system that kind of, releases, the same kind of person with the same kind of degree as everybody else. But that's not to say that, you should never stop learning. You need to learn every single day. But yeah, that's, definitely, I think, just believe in yourself, honestly, really.
Yeah.
And that sounds really cliche, but yeah.
No, definitely. It's one of those things I like to always talk. That's why I talk with entrepreneurs, because I find out of anybody, you kind of look at it like the jungle aspect, these people that are going out, you have your doctors, lawyers, accountants, engineers, but the entrepreneurs are kind of the ones that are like, not the misfits like Apple would say, but you have these guys that are coming out and the ones that can actually make it have that significant impact and change on our culture. Yeah. So I'm fascinated by that. As for yourself, so with the marketing piece, I'm saying, like, what I wanted to go off here, the title you used, CTO, so the Chief Technological Officer. That's right. Can't get my words together here, sorry about that. So Chief Technological Officer, what does that entail? So you're obviously, like we said, doing the coding aspect. Are you running a team?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, in the inside of the company, positions don't mean anything. Right? Mm-hmm. You're just the coder or whatever. But yeah, as your team grows, I mean, you need some form of leadership, structure within the company. So I ended up that being my position. But I mean, yeah, I do everything from managing the dev team to making software architectural decisions, things like that. But mainly still my job is writing code exactly. On a day in and day out. But I sort of just have the extra responsibilities, and then obviously my team, great team, building each separate component underneath that. So.
So for instance, like, how difficult is it to write code? Like, how long have you been doing that? Because you hear code, everyone's talking about coding, but like, I have no idea what's going on.
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, no, really.
Because that's kind of like the boogeyman. I mean, everybody thinks it's a misconception. Everybody thinks code is really difficult to write, and I mean, once you get to a level, it is. I mean, but if you're interested and you say, hey, this might be something I want to get into, writing code is actually incredibly easy. I mean, if you want to build websites, I mean, I teach people in an afternoon. You can learn in an afternoon to build a great website without using, WordPress or Wix or something like that. But it's just like, it's just like mathematics, right? You just practice, and you can get really good at it. But yeah, it's really easy. So I recommend everybody to get into it. I mean, it's great. Yeah.
That's like the back end of everything. You can have your front man, but then if you have a really bad coder, then everything else kind of falls apart.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, every cog in the machine has to be working, especially when you're a small company. In order for you like to meet your targets, I would say. Yeah.
I want to ask, how do you feel about the millennial generation? I mean, we're both millennials. Like, how do you feel? Like, are you confident that we're going to be able to take it on, or is it going to be kind of this huge kind of separation and divide with this mass disruption in the industry? Or in industry in general?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit less optimistic than a lot of people.
Come on now. No, I'm just kidding.
If we're talking about artificial intelligence here and how it's going to swallow up the workplace, I am less optimistic than everybody else, than maybe some other people. 15 years we have an artificial intelligence smarter than a human. 20 years we have an artificial intelligence smarter than the entire human race. Right? Wow. And you see, there's tons and tons of great companies optimizing different parts of the essentially economics of the entire country. So I mean, I'm a little bit less optimistic. I think there's going to be some serious issues in the coming 20 years.
Do you think we're going to be leaning towards somewhat of a monopoly in a sense, that you'll have these certain companies that just have these big AIs?
Oh, we're already there. I mean, we already have these companies that like Amazon. I mean, and Google, for example. I mean, you already have these companies. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough to say. But I think yeah. I mean, once you get an artificial intelligence that's so general purpose that it can do multiple things and learn new skills without them being targeted towards a specific skill, right? Like, we target our analytics to be good at detecting diseases, but when you can have an artificial intelligence that knows that and then can learn new skills without intervention from humans, then you're going to have those kinds of situations, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think, with your app, for instance, with Wellbe, so basically the more data you're throwing into your artificial intelligence or the system, the more kind of it's going to be able to learn and go on. That's what you're implying?
Yeah, exactly. As our data set grows, as we get more examples of, these are examples of people who have sleep apnea, or these are people who have arrhythmia, once we get more examples, we can spot the trends over this larger data set, and then we can become more accurate when we say, hey, you might have this or you might have this. So yeah, as we collect data, we just keep getting better and better.
No, absolutely. I think that's super fascinating. And the other thing too, obviously, how do you feel about, so you guys obviously, as you're going to grow and you're going to get more research and data and stats, like you want to kind of pull on as many doctors as possible just to say, hey, this is our new thing, try it out. You kind of give them it away, or not give it away for free, but let them do a trial so that you give them value.
Yeah. Sorry.
Or go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's exactly what we plan to do. I mean, and then that's really the only way you can really kind of grow in the industry without causing too many issues. Yeah.
You guys are starting off, like, so obviously the app is across North America?
It's a global. You can
huge.
download it anywhere.
Wow, that's huge. Like, so where do you think you're going to be getting your most traction? Obviously, since you guys are kind of local in Canada, and more so you're going to start off here and then kind of like scale it out as much as possible?
Yeah, we get a lot of, mainly our traction comes from Canada and the United States and some Southeast Asian countries as well. But yeah, we're hoping to grow in Europe. Is kind of our goal. But in North America mainly.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. Especially you just show like it's kind of like a trend setting. You see it go to North America, people are going to want it.
Yeah.
Other places. What do you think? Transitioning here, what do you think is the hardest selling factor with this type of thing? Like I said, in an industry that's quite dense.
Yeah, I guess it's people. I would honestly say maybe it's people's trust in a new product and something that's kind of different. I mean, wearables are sort of new. I mean, not really, but they're sort of new. But they're new to a lot of people, especially older adults, people over 65. This is this is superhuman technology.
Yeah, I know.
Right. So maybe this is something that they're not really used to, and they might seem kind of foreign and a little bit apprehensive at the beginning. But we haven't seen too much of that, thankfully, which is good. But getting businesses to kind of change their ways is going to be challenging. Yeah.
Absolutely. Kind of just saying like not so much change their ways too, but it also like as another add-on to whatever they're doing. It's like, here, this is an extra thing. So let's say a doctor misses this, that your app all of a sudden comes and turns like, yeah, we've been tracking this for the last while. And that's what I found fascinating with that, because I mean, it's one of those things that technology is getting so good that, you know what I mean, all of a sudden you're going to predict maybe if someone's going to have a heart attack beforehand, there's something wrong here. I've had a few instances with a few friends there that all of a sudden something would trigger, and next thing you know, the guy ends up in the hospital and you're sitting back thinking, what just happened? Whereas this is where you come in and kind of try to solve this massive solution, which is huge. I have a quote for you guys and everyone listening out there. So there was a gentleman I heard on stage, and I told Nick to check him out. His name is Naveen Jain, and he always said everything starts in the gut. And he said, rather than trying to, go into the healthcare system and solve it, why don't we just get rid of health problems in general? So it's kind of off the same premise, and I think that's what you guys have done. Going forward, what do you think? So, what are you anticipating, Nick? You're gonna obviously grow this company as far as you can, scale this thing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we can see coming in from you?
Me personally, I'm just, we're just gonna kind of keep trying to solve this issue.
I like that.
It's this is my number one goal right now. This is my life. Trying to help families. But yeah, that's the goal. Is just try to help families and try to predict these issues before they happen. Hopefully save some lives. That'd be really great.
I think that's huge. Yeah. In my closing remark here, I want to ask you, so this is another thing, obviously, with all this AI, everything else coming. What do you think about emotional intelligence? I think that's something that we really have to focus on going into these upcoming years if we're losing jobs. And I think it's a lot of things some people lack. It's everyone's all about, it's IQ. No, it's about, I find in my life, it's the more emotional intelligence, the more you can build relationships and help people. Yeah. That's the way you got to go. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. So I mean, we had a co-founder who had a phenomenal emotional intelligence. I mean, and it's such a key part of a business. It really is. I mean, that's one puzzle piece in the entire puzzle. I mean, to have this kind of thing. But I mean, yeah, I think that's definitely a skill you're going to want to have for sure, and is absolutely critical right now, for sure.
Absolutely. So honestly, I got to say what you guys have done so far. I wish I had your other co-founder here as well to just say you guys have done an incredible job. It's been a year and a half. I mean, you guys are just getting started. Everyone else out there, check out Wellbe. That's the app you guys have on the App Store, correct?
Yeah, App Store and Android Store, WELBI.
Perfect. I spelled it wrong on my social media the first time. No, don't worry. But where can we find you guys on social media? So you have the App Store. Where can we find you, Nick?
Yeah,
talk it right into the camera.
Yeah, Facebook and Twitter, WELBI.
Wellbe, that is easy. Honestly, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence is coming to take over. Keep an eye out.